Now, I don't normally get butterflies when I'm on the air. I have been doing 3 hours a day, 5 days a week on the radio since 1998. And at many points in my radio career, I've been doing dual shows per day. Now I do a broadcast on Sundays. I have done over 4,000 radio interviews in the last 6 years. I'll be on Coast to Coast AM for 3 hours coming up Tuesday night. Just a plug there for George Norrie's great program. My point is I don't normally get butterflies. I've got butterflies. I'm nervous. I'm overwhelmed because I don't think I can do a good enough job telling you how powerful Apocalypto is. This is the best movie I have ever seen. I'm somewhat the historical, I guess, it's a hobby to study Mesoamerica because it's so interesting. I have been all over Mesoamerica. I have been to many of the big public sites and to many of the sites that haven't even really been dug up. I was just down there earlier this year on the Guatemalan border in Yucatan in some very primitive areas in Costa Maya that haven't even been excavated entirely. And so with that in mind, my mother also is I guess she's got a degree in history, and she's been a big buff on Mesoamerica. And so I grew up being drug around in the jungles looking at these. But that's not why it's the best film I've ever seen. The history is so incredibly accurate. The cinematography is unspeakably good, a new standard. In fact, I hardly ever write notes for a radio show. I have 3 pages of notes here because there's so many facets to this film. Then there's a vicious, disgusting hit piece by Chris Garcia in the Austin American Statesman that makes me want to puke. So we'll go over that as well. And I see the phones are loading up. Folks, you're going to hear plugs to call in. We'll probably take calls by the end of the hour. I don't know, though. I mean, I've got to do some serious analysis and praise here for this film. And let me say this. There are very few things that make me, and I don't want this in the article. I've got 2 of my writers listening right now. They're going to write an article off of it. I'm so busy I kind of rant on air, and they go vet all my facts and add more and then put it together. Steve Watson and Paul Watson, the dynamic duo, 2 brothers in England, are listening right now. We're going to have big reports out on this tomorrow, and I wanted to know this article's important. Okay, I want it super good, and I know you guys can do it because they're also going to, again, take notes off what I'm saying here and write some big reports here. Please don't add the groveling part here. I just want the listeners to know that. And the issue I'm about to talk about right now is that there are a few regrets I have in my life. One of them is I have not pursued any type of relationship with Mel Gibson, even though I've had a chance to, even though I know the family. I'm just going to leave it there. I mean, frankly, I've got a director friend here in town, great guy, love knowing him because he's a neat, smart person, but I'm not starstruck. Rick Linklater. I know Keanu Reeves. I know Winona Ryder. I know Woody Harrelson. I know about, I'm good friends with Charlie Sheen. I love Charlie Sheen because his incredible courage to go public on 9/11 first that's now caused David Lynch to go public and others that I was just mentioning earlier. Okay. But again, I'm not starstruck. I mean, I'm into inventors and scientists and people that stand up against tyranny and lawyers who represent the downtrodden. I mean, those are my rock stars. But let me just tell you something. I am starstruck by Mel Gibson. I mean, I thought The Passion of the Christ was avant-garde and amazing, and I was a big fan of it. But let me just tell you something. I am like a schoolgirl here, folks. I'd be one of those people yelling and screaming at a line, now to talk to Mel Gibson and just tell him how great this is. So I'm going to write him a letter, and I know how to get it right into his hands. The family are fans of my work. Mel Gibson knew about the New World Order before I was born. He always talks about it and speaks about it and has made films that have that underlying message in it. But I am frustrated that when he came to town, they couldn't tell me he was coming to town. I just got a little phone call saying, you might want to come this day to the Fantastic Fest, the Alamo Drafthouse, South Lamar, where I screen all my films. Love it. Great theater. And they just said, you might want to come this day. And I said, oh, no, thanks, because I just got a message. No, thanks. I'm going to go visit family in East Texas. And I'm glad I visited family in East Texas a few months ago, but I miss being there. But in the very same theater that he first screened it, first place he screened it was Austin, Texas, I had a chance Friday night in the very same theater where he first screened it, first place he came to screen it, to a big public crowd, and I got a chance to sit there and watch it, and it totally blew me away. And it's going to go over a lot of people's heads. It's got the violence for a certain level of folks, but that's just making it accurate. And I just have to tell you, you got to go see this movie. But perhaps after you've heard me talk about it, then you'll understand why it's such a powerful film. And I'm sure you'll find it entertaining, riveting, terrifying, frightening. But if you have a background in Mesoamerica, if you've researched it, and then if you understand human societies, well, if you ever heard the show, you know I talk about the Aztecs, the overall Mayan culture, the Toltecs. You know I discussed that here on air quite a bit and paralleled it with our society today. So this is near and dear to my heart, and it's Mel Gibson. And all I can say is, I mean, I was a fan before, but now I am just gaga over Mel Gibson. In fact, here are my notes. Let me just read through this first page, then we'll come back and I'll go over them. We now have the Mel Gibson standard. Okay, he is Stanley Kubrick on steroids. I'm also a big fan of Stanley Kubrick. Stanley Kubrick on steroids. He is the greatest living director. This film is off the chart powerful. Total immersion in the atmosphere. You are there. Suspended disbelief. The standard of casting, cinematography, the research. When we get back, I'll break down some of the film without giving away too much, and then tie it into modern day. Infowars.com.